All right, welcome. Awesome. Finally managed to get this going. So this is pretty much just going to be a trade review of the week of November 18th to the 22nd. Overall, it was an okay, very small green week. Some good things, some not so good things, and definitely something worth looking into. And well, it's December 11th now, so it has been a little bit of time, but it's nice to kind of reflect back on this and see, even though however small, some sort of developments that I've made over the past week or so. There have been a few pretty decent ones actually. So, and you'll have to pardon me. I am a little sick. I've been recovering. Um, did I say this in my last video? I hope I didn't. I hope I haven't been sick that long, but I still have this ridiculous cough. But anyways, so if you've ever been watching me or you know me, you know that these sorts of days when the market just kind of trends up like this, I'm not a fan of. I have a very difficult time finding a decent entry because there's no pullbacks. My style very much relies on this, right? And then I trade in between these moves on the extremes. But with this, there's no structure. There's no structure built around here for me to rely on. So it's the sort of thing where I know that my system doesn't really perform well on these days, if at all. And most trades that I am able to find are going to be forcing a bad hand, um, more so than anything. Similar to I like I've mentioned in the past. Like, let's say you're playing blackjack and you have a 16 against a dealer ace, and you're going all in on that hand. Like that's a stupid move. You know that the probabilities, the math of the game are very much against you. And that's how I feel when the market moves like this. It's giving me information, right? All the market is just generating data, and it's telling me, hey, from my experience, my own discretion, that these sorts of this sort of price action is unfavorable for my edge. Some people may be able to kill a day like this and make fantastic profits, but that's just not me. So, very simply, the first setup that I have here is a pretty terrible trade. I have this very aggressive algo here. In the past, you'll see that some of these do work for anti-algoing and for anti-algos and being able to jump in long, but they require retracements. Some sort of moves like this, coming down, and then a continuation higher. That's not what we get here. We get this sort of upwards chop and touch of the line, and I enter long, getting about, I don't know, 0.75 R, and ultimately failing the trade and getting stopped out. What's interesting about this is that there was a short setup right here, and the moment the short setup triggered, I should have switched to. I should have just exited the trade. I should have stopped myself out right here. Let me change this to white. I should have stopped myself out here rather than letting it go all the way down here for a loss. Because I had already made a mistake. My mindset wasn't in the right place, and I ended up taking a larger than necessary loss, which you never want to do. But that was definitely some emotion, some impatience, stubbornness in that trade. Um, and yeah, the short setup triggered here. There's not a whole lot to say on this long setup. It was just me being impatient and wanting to force an entry when a pretty solid short entry came just a few minutes later. Um, that trade being very simple. We have this head right here. We have this first break of the teal algo, then a second break, close, below, continuation. I've said this a billion times. 2B algo trade with a closing continuation below. You have this liquidity to be grabbed right here, flushes down, and you have a beautiful move to the downside. Um, Next, I really took I took a nice break here. This is how long? Probably about 2 hours. Oh, yeah, about an hour and 50 minutes. So I ended up chilling here, drawing this algo here, pivot it to the top, although you have to keep in mind that this is now the middle band. We do have a top band over here, correct? Why does it keep going back to white? To green. But anyways, and this comes in useful later, but we do break above, and we chop right around this middle band. Before I would have been longing this stuff, but I stay away from those middle band kinds of trades, even though it is holding support. We break back down. You have this one quick OCBNR, the one candle break and retest right there. Break, wick retest right here, right? I'm sure you can see that, right? Um, and I end up just getting like a quick 1.5R, and that's it. In the future, I won't be taking these sorts of trades. This is a change that I've made, and you can see in later on this week and some of my other weeks that these when there's an algo like this, like I have something like that, right? I noticed that when we a lot of times when we do, at least lately, maybe we're at this all-time high action, and we come here, a lot of times it'll be like this, and then we get that close below, close above, and then the continuation higher. That's what I've been seeing a lot of, and I don't know. I think this setup I really like it. Ignore the so ignore that, but these moves here become test the downside. That's a beauty. That's a beautiful setup, but not so much there. Yeah, honestly, I wasn't able to take that. I mean, I in the future I'm just not going to be taking these sorts of setups, which is fine. They're not my they never were my A plus setups anyways. This trade I thought was okay. Had you enter here on the second break. The only actually well no, it's more like a B minus tier setup because there still is this top band. So you're entering in the middle band. You are grabbing this liquidity here, but you're still in this very much bearish controlled selling algorithm at the moment. You know, and this is further proven. I mean, this is further uh, supported by the fact that we come up here and we do resist the top band as resistance. I mean, as a level here that we are unable to break through resistance, and we're unable to break through that. We short here, and that's a great setup because we know that we are trading at a resistance level right here. This was the second trade I took. So everything with the P&L box is a trade that I took. This one, I'm I'm kind of all right about. I wish that I would have waited for a little bit of a better structure, given that like all right, so this is what your head here. Where's a like, what what's going on? There's not a whole lot there to work with. Although we do just purely in terms of the actual structure of the setup itself of the actual setup itself, we do have this algo here, the orange, that I got from these pivots over here. First break, second break, close below continuation, nice short, but doesn't work out. And for the whole rest of the day, we chop in between these red. You see here, we have this. Well, we do have this second break of the middle band, but I wouldn't take it. You do have a little bit of a better structure here, with this double bottom, but just I don't know. I would prefer to wait for this top level and maybe something here, but we end up just chopping between these algos the whole rest of the day, and the market's undecided. So yeah, that concludes that day. Kind of a difficult day for me. But I wish I would have managed this better, and this one I'm more so about. Um, yeah, just a general thought on trading is that like just the importance of, and one thing I definitely want to talk about more in the future is just being very aware, like cognizantly aware of your edge. Like you should almost to the point where you feel it, because you've seen this pattern so many times. It's a familiar face. And it's a signal. Same thing like when you have a good hand in poker, a good hand at blackjack. It's a signal telling you, hey, there's a higher probability that one thing is going to happen before the other. What are your thoughts on that? Oh, well, don't mind if I do. I'm going to try my hand, right? And that's ultimately what's going on here when we trade. We're betting that there's a higher probability of one thing happening before the other. But anyways, I I ended up, um, becoming much more confident and clear in identifying what is my edge rather than trading so many different setups all the time. It's become so much more about what is it specifically that I'm looking for. All right, I need to have these lines drawn, and on the breakout of that line, if it fails back in and then has a some sort of structure retracement around and closes back above that line again, then I have a potential long setup. Or if it closes back below, then I have a short. Things like that. And this is the concept of filters that I've learned from many great traders. Um, this guy, he runs a um, Compound Your Life. I mean, I'm sure maybe he's probably watching this, but that community, and also Eric and Goose and all these people, that I just always am looking back on, kind of reflecting back on things that I've heard. Another thing I remember that Eric wrote me was just this message saying, like, look, you need to trust. You need to trust. That's all that matters. Um, Trust yourself. Have confidence. Stop running from thing to thing because you're always just worried that it's not going to work. Just trust and execute. Don't overthink. That was such a massive problem. Those are definitely things I want to talk about more in depth in the future as I I plan to develop this channel and put some serious time into this to the point where I'm comfortably making videos that are a little higher quality than what I have here and showing my face and being able to talk about these concepts, about the importance of execution in trading, in analysis, and not overthinking, and simplifying, in risk, in reward, in win rate, in R multiple, things like that. Um, yeah. But anyways, um, here. All right, so now let's move on to Tuesday, the 19th of November. A little disjumble, I know. I'll work on these things as I get better at YouTubing and speaking and all of that. But anyways, we have this algo here. I draw these bottom pivots um, here, here, coming up. We have this first um, break here because I'm able to get the algo all the way back here actually. This failed breakout, I would have short that. We have this third touch on the bottom of the channel. Close above right here. That's a long setup. Easy as pie. Head, left shoulder. Let me clean this up a bit. Head, left shoulder, right shoulder, and we're mooning. A very nice move there. Um, this teal algo I do have, from these pivots posted to the bottom. This could also have been read as an anti-algo. Just joining the trend, very clean. Not really something I'm all that comfortable taking these days. Come back up, retrace. We don't have any proper second break entries because we do have a bear bar but no continuation lower, so there would have never been a short entry here. We reclaim the band here, trade right along it, hug it, break out. Likely to be the final move, climactic long, and trade back in. Here is our beautiful second break to be algo entry. Close below, short here as we have a close and continuation lower. Stop at the highs, protected by structure, which really should be up here. But I was okay because I was protected by this algo, the teal algo. And I do get my little 1.5 R, which did go to 2 R. So pretty nice move there. But anyways, that was pretty much it for this day. There wasn't a whole lot else, honestly. This sort of just like very trend-based action, not very favorable for me. Not a whole lot I can work with. That's okay. I'm still able to find something, and no trade, no loss. And if there's no edge, at least for what I understand to be edge, then there's no entry. It is what it is, right? Yeah, my charts. I've simplified so much, so it's cool to look back, and I want to reflect on old trades and charts and things like that in the future as well. On this setup, I have this top band here, posted to the bottom, giving me a pretty nice entry, honestly. Where on this first break, this would have been an amazing anti-algo because we end up. Wait, no, never mind. What am I talking about? Sorry, I'm distracted. Um, that's not. No, this wouldn't have been an anti-algo. I would have never been able to trade this because this would have been drawn second. Anyways, ignore that. So we have the first break here. Um, and this was too brash because we have this close here, so a short entry. However, the structure is as follows. Head up the top, left shoulder here, and if I'm entering here, your stop loss needs to be at the head. There's also no liquidity being grabbed here. This is just a bullish point in the chart. So this was just not a great setup. And even either way, like, given the fact that this was drawn, that how this moved, I know it does kind of depend on my own discretion from moment to moment, but this is honestly better using the second pivot on an example like this because the market needs to move back and create some sort of head structure for me to rely on. So I ended up shorting here, taking the loss. We trade back into the algo, close back in this first white band, right? But not below the second band. I short right as we break, but not close below the second band. And I get stopped out for just a few points. Or yeah, before a few points before it ends up falling down for a pretty nice move. And in this case, it's like, all right, you have your structure here. The best idea is you're in no harm, no rush. Market's not going anywhere. Wait for a close below this second algo, right? Especially since the close below this first one failed here. I should have stayed out rather than try and do the exact same thing again. Wait for slightly different conditions. Once we had this sort of double top here form, right, with this bearish bar closing below the algo, I paper traded this as an A plus setup, and I ended up getting my move pretty nicely. But yeah, that was a difficult day for me. Took two losses. The second one could have been avoided. The first, because we had already, it was the exact same entry as my first one, given that we had closed below the algo, and I was doing the exact same thing essentially. And the first trade just lacks structure. I'm just joining in like this, bull, 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 bull bars, bull bars, bull bars, bear bar, bear bar, bear bar, bear bar. You know what I mean? So yeah. Anyway, it's not super great there. Right, Thursday, I believe. Yes, yes. Um, Pretty interesting day. I started off by jotting this down. Um, ah, um, this setup here, given that I take these bands from this lower pivot, posted to the top. We hold here as support. Now, this is a very microstructure retracement. It's a huge move, and all we do is chop your foot. Not really a trade I love to take, but it is an entry potentially speaking. But yeah, not a huge fan of that. Next, we have a very similar gradient. Notice how the slope is very similar of this controlled selling here, in which we have the first break right here, which you can't anti-algo, just because we had broken out of this much larger algo, and the structure in my mind has now changed to something much more bullish. At least that's how I would read it. Be looking for something like this. And that's what we end up getting. So first break fails. We then have this very nice close above. Stop here, stop here. You're protected by the routed algo. Um, stop here, and you have the second close above, and you're able to long for pretty beautiful structure there. Next, we have these pivots. You can see how clear this white one is. How we trade around that. Um, right there, and well, this ends up not giving us really anything, but it's still a viable algo to draw and something I would have watched for. But we only touch it after market close, so there's nothing there. However, a much tighter algo drawn from these pivots right here, and these pivots taken up from here as support, and we post it here. First break, the little micro break there right on the wick, very nice. We are chopping here. There is just this kind of distribution or whatever you want to call it, right at around our where our initial sell-off started. So we know this is a potential sell zone here, a little like bearish order block or whatever you want to call it. That's why I would look at this. But then we end up closing below the short here, and we get our 1.5R. Then I draw this pivot, using this to get this orange algo, and I also have this one here using this bottom band all the way down there. So I end up logging that. I end up shorting that as we touch the top band, white algo, and we resist, come down. However, I barely miss my target, and we end up holding the orange algo support here, like so. See how it holds right there. This would have been a pretty nice long entry as we ended up holding the support right here, given this beautiful right shoulder head right here, left shoulder right there, and for a nice entry there. So yeah, the last day, Friday. What was this day? Yeah, this was a good day. Um, some decent setups today. More stuff to talk about. In the beginning of the video, I detailed why I mentioned that I didn't like taking those sorts of top band algo resistance setups. And here's an example why, among many other that I've experienced over the past few weeks, as of recent times. But like check this out. So bottom pivot, closer to the top, break above, and there's no entry here. No entry. I don't like this. But we ended up closing below, and we do have this wick resistance right here, and you're able to short below. Not a setup I would take anymore, but one that's viable, at least somewhat, in my opinion. But then, once we have this short with the stop above here, we get like 1.5R or something, and we come back, there's a little bit of air here, some structure, and we resist. The algo. Top band, we have a now back test and we retest as resistance. Top end of the algo. Nice bear bar, you short below, nice bear bar, you short below, and you get absolutely destroyed. Not to say that this is going to happen every time, but I've been noticing that this is happening more and more. I think just because of how bullish the market is set up right now. So for now, I'm not going to be entering that sort of move. Sorry. But then here, first break right here, second break right here. You would have to have your stop ideally below here. If it is here, I mean, that's really unfortunate. But I do know I'll take some trades with a stop like that because I'll argue that I am protected by the red band algo. But structurally, this is your head, right? This is going to be your left shoulder liquidity grab, all this liquidity here. And this is your right shoulder breakout. So, structurally speaking, your stop needs to be here. And this is the market can still retrace and trade all around this area, right? All around here, and still be technically bullish. Once this breaks, this is your head. Then the market structure has shifted, right? As this guy's saying, an MSS. But anyways, breakdown. Then we have another close above, and you could argue that this is very slightly so. You have this little structure here, so this is a more viable stop loss around this area, and you long for pretty beautiful points. Giving this left shoulder liquidity grab head, right shoulder breakout, and continuation higher. So this red algo I had drawn using these pivots from this point in the chart to this post to the bottom, and this yellow one was drawn from here and here, much more aggressive algo. This pivot, as well as this one, posting it here. First break over here, no continuation lower, come down, and we anti-algo it here pretty nicely. Then we chop like a madman, and I have my entry on this bar closing below, this one right here, which is not great. It's not a very aggressive close, but my stop loss here, protected by the structure as well as the yellow algo, saves me on this trade. A much better entry in this context would have been once we had traded below, come back a bit, and we really start retesting this yellow algo as a proper resistance, like so. This yellow algo right here, um, and it's resisting on the other side of the band, right? Um, because in the past it was using it as support, now it's resistant. So we have this, all that stuff. You come down, trade, resistance on this red side, on the other side, this purple bar. And that's a beautiful short setup right there. So yeah, um, that was the first move. I took this trade very beautifully. Another one, I didn't take this one. Was on this red algo, same exact thing, bread and butter. I love this setup. Here, first break. We have a second break here, but no continuation lower. Come back, trade in the algo, close below. That's a beautiful setup. Short right here on the continuation below the bear bar, closing below. Head, right shoulder right here. Head, left shoulder. I mean, does it get more gorgeous than that? Even this little microstructure right here. I mean, just fantastic setup to end the week if you're able to catch this. But I was already done. But yeah, and then some other setups. Taking this pivot, push it to the top, trade up, chop around. You have this bull bar here, but so this is, you could argue, second break, but I wouldn't, because there's no air here. Once we just kind of chop around the bar. This barely even goes to, like, 1.3R or whatever. Trade down. It's already a little later in the day. You do have a nice structure here, you could argue. So if you longed here, stop below here, you would have been okay. However, you would have never reached your target until the next day. So you would have had to manually enter the trade. But yeah, you would have not, at least at the very least, not taken a loss on it, however small the gain. But yeah, this is once we trade back in the algo and hold it as support. But yeah, anyway, so pretty long video detailing this week. I think I ended up maybe like 3R, 2R, something like that. But we're getting there. I'm getting better. I know I am. It's the most important thing. So thank you very much.